Good evening, Flames family and friends. Thank you for joining our UIC Athletics webinar this evening. We are grateful for your time and support. I'm Andrea Williams and have the honor of serving as UIC's Director of Athletics. As you know, the landscape of collegiate athletics is ever shifting, and institutions must be prepared to evolve. This is a unique moment for the NCAA, and I'm not sure we've ever experienced a more challenging time. Having said that, change and challenge present opportunities, and UIC Athletics continues to be nimble and place our focus on student-athlete experience and success. We are also deeply committed to providing support for our coaches and our staff, ensuring they have the resources to be successful. We are so very excited for the future of the Flames. Tonight's webinar is to provide some insight and information regarding the changes we are seeing across athletics, and in particular, the NCAA House settlement and what NIL and revenue share means for our institution. To tip off tonight's Zoom, it is my pleasure to introduce UIC's Chancellor, Dr. Lynn Miranda. Chancellor Miranda champions a vision centered on student success with a deep commitment to faculty excellence, transformative research, and innovation. Her leadership expands UIC's impact and deepens its engagement with the diverse communities we proudly serve. Dr. Miranda is deeply committed to advancing the social mobility of UIC students and the university's mission to provide the broadest access to the highest levels of educational, research, and clinical excellence. As she often reminds us, recruiting, retaining, and graduating students into the world with a sense of belonging, purpose, and love is without question the top priority for UIC. Please join me in welcoming Chancellor Miranda.
Thanks so much, Andrea. I really appreciate having the opportunity to join all of you this evening. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us tonight and for showing your support for UIC Athletics. Athletics is essential to UIC. It's an important experience for our students, both our student athletes and our students who come to see all of our teams play as fans. UIC Athletics is also the front door to UIC, to the community. It's one of the many ways that we bring the community onto our campus and help them understand all the wonderful things going on at our university. The national landscape around college athletics is experiencing rapid change. So thank you, Andrea Williams, Sean McDonough, and the entire UIC Athletics team for organizing this virtual town hall so that we can convey what these changes are and how they will impact UIC. This town hall is a great opportunity for us to talk about how these changes are reshaping how we recruit, support, and compensate athletes, and all the challenges and opportunities that accompany those changes. I also welcome opportunities like this for us to come together as a community. So thank you all again for the engagement here today. As you will hear in much greater detail, the landscape of college athletics is in rapid transformation. Recent legal settlements, most notably the House versus NCAA case, have challenged us to think differently about athlete compensation, equity, and opportunities for our student athletes. Things like revenue sharing and more structured name, image, and likeness guidelines are not just athletics issues. These changes will impact many aspects of higher education. These are also cultural and institutional shifts that impact how we think about education, how we think about competition, how we think about opportunity, and how we think about fairness. Athletics plays a vital role in advancing UIC's mission to provide the broadest access to the highest levels of educational research and clinical excellence. Our athletics programs positively shape our campus culture. Our student athletes are competitors in addition to being scholars, mentors, ambassadors, role models, and leaders. Evolving NCAA rules will affect both athletics programs and the student experience across UIC. With the House settlement, Division I schools may now opt into a system that allows them to share revenue with student athletes beginning this fiscal year. We have opted in. This gives student athletes the same opportunities as their peers to monetize their personal brands. At UIC, we believe that access and excellence go hand in hand, and we want to be sure that all students, excuse me, and we want to be sure that all students have access to exciting opportunities on the field, in the classroom, in the lab, and with their personal brands. As we navigate these changes, please know that UIC will do all that we can to support our students by providing tools and resources to make smart decisions in this space, just like we would provide for all of our students in other settings. We will continue to share more information on this topic as we grow and adapt in real time to these emerging issues. We ask everybody for patience and grace as the whole landscape of college athletics is evolving very rapidly. Ultimately, we want to foster an environment, an athletics environment that enhances the student experience and accelerates opportunities for everyone. And in fact, that's the opportunity, that's the excuse me, that's the environment we want to put forward for all of our students. With that, I'll hand things over to Phil Bergman from UIC Athletics, who will guide us through the rest of this evening's discussion. A pleasure to be here with all of you.
Thank you so much, Chancellor. For those who don't know me, my name is Phil Bergman, and I'm UIC's Associate Athletics Director for Creative Services and Broadcasting. We're very appreciative to all of you for joining us at this evening's NIL Town Hall. We're excited to now have a panel discussion on the current state of NIL with 3 experts in the field. Our first panelist is Missouri Valley Conference Commissioner Jeff Jackson. Commissioner Jackson began his role with the Missouri Valley Conference in July 2021 and has been instrumental in the Valley's success both on and off the fields of competition. As well, joining us is Emily Wollett, UIC Senior Associate Athletics Director, Chief Ethics and Compliance Officer, and Sean McDonough, who serves as UIC's Senior Associate Athletics Director for Development. Thank you all so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
Well, Commissioner Jackson, the first question is yours. It's a new world of college sports. How has NIL impacted the Missouri Valley Conference and its member institutions?
Well, I think the exciting thing about NIL is that our institutions have embraced it. Again, it's a different way of managing the relationship between ourselves and our student athletes. But it's, a relationship was probably lacking a true model in terms of how we dealt financially with our student athletes. The pendulum probably has swung too far in one direction. And I think it'll tamp down and get back to a place of normalcy here in a very short period of time. But I think our schools are excited about being able to enter into this relationship with our student athletes. We're excited about the things that our student athletes are learning, the different things that they're encountering now that they're learning how to manage a financial model, so to speak, whether it's, trying to figure out how to do taxes or, how to manage money, all those type of things. So I think our schools, the villages that surround our schools, we're all looking at NIL in a very exciting way. It's something that all of our schools are participating in, and we see it as a way of advantaging ourselves and separating the Missouri Valley Conference as one of the premier conferences in the country. And I think the important thing that all of our institutions understand, and you heard Chancellor Miranda speak to this in her opening statements, we have not lost sight of the importance of the academic piece, the academic part of this relationship.
Emily, many on this call may have heard of the House settlement. What did this settlement determine, and how will this impact the experience of our student athletes here at UIC?
Yes, thank you, Phil. And Chancellor Miranda described some key points in this. It's a landmark agreement, and it touches on the back pay that needs to be provided to student athletes, up to $2.8 billion, which will be paid out over 10 years. This is provided to former student athletes for lost NIL opportunities because of NCAA restrictions. It permits Division I institutions that opt in, and in our case at UIC, it allows us to provide those direct benefits through rev share and NIL opportunities to our students up to a 20.5 million cap. It impacts sport programs by shifting financial aid limits to now roster limits, which is pretty important for our coaches out recruiting. And third-party NIL payments valued over 600 or more are now subject to review. So ultimately, student athletes at UIC will have more opportunity. They can participate still in third-party deals. They can receive direct benefits from their NIL through UIC, and then the programs will no longer be restricted on the scholarships they can receive.
And Sean, as Chancellor Miranda mentioned, with UIC opting into the House settlement from a fundraising perspective, how can fans support the Flames now that we've opted in?
Well, first of all, thanks for everyone to joining tonight, both on participants and in attendees. The easiest way, the best way, is to have for you and I, for me to have conversations with folks. I'm still relatively new to UIC, and so I still need to visit with our donors and our season ticket holders and fans. And with such a new dynamic with revenue share and NIL, I think the best way is for us to have a conversation. At the end of the webinar, my email will be available. I'll put my cell phone number in a chat. But that's one way. That's probably the best way, again, because we can have dialogue. Another way is uicflames.com, and then just under support. Revenue share in NIL since July 1st is very similar to giving in the past to a nonprofit or 501c3 or UIC Flames Athletics. So those are probably the two best ways. Again, the very best is for us to have a conversation, because again, there's that dialogue. I can answer your questions, and we can get to know each other, because that's we need to improve our relationships in moving forward at Flames Athletics.
Thanks, Sean. And Commissioner, you're constantly talking to other commissioners nationally and leaders from other conferences and schools. What do you want attendees here on the Zoom call to know about NIL and then the MVC's plans regarding NIL moving forward?
Well, one, it's a positive thing. This isn't something that we're looking at and feeling like, woe is me or that type of thing. We're excited, as Emily was talking about earlier, the different things now that we can do for our student athletes to help their collegiate experience as they're, on our campuses. So I think our schools are just trying to figure out ways to take advantage of the new opportunities that have been made available by the House settlement, the fact that NIL is now, quote unquote, the law of the land. We're still, trying to figure out what's going to happen around the corner. Remember, the House settlement is just the first step. We're still doing things, trying to get legislative relief, whether we're talking about preemption, which is having rules that are consistent across the country. Obviously, we're not in favor of employment, and certainly we want to be able to govern ourselves, which is important in terms of having what we would call some type of safe harbor from the congressional space. But again, with our schools, this is an exciting time, because it allows us to compete in a way that in some ways we weren't able to compete like before, because the value, especially the sport of basketball in the Missouri Valley, we're seeing how our schools are investing, how our schools are trying to do what they need to do to be effective in the recruiting. Again, some of this is quite frankly the ability to garner talent to your campuses. And certainly there are now different variables in play in terms of how you do that. Certainly it's going to be the academic piece. There's going to be the coaching piece. There's going to be the facility piece. There's going to be the social piece. This NIL piece is now just one more, leg on that stool that you need to be responsible for if you're going to go after the best student athletes in the country.
Thank you so much, Commissioner. Emily, we're at an educational institution. Our goal is to not just educate our student athletes, but also educate those on the Zoom on the nuances that is the House settlement, opting in and opting out. We hear a lot about these terms, opting in. Could you please explain what opting in actually means for those on the Zoom, and what does opting in, how does it benefit UIC?
Certainly. So institutions not named in the settlement have the option to opt in or opt out of the settlement terms. Unfortunately, there's not an opportunity to opt out of the back pay in the settlement, but we do have the option, which we are opting in, to now we have the flexibility again to do direct NIL payments, rev share with student athletes. And now we shift to roster limits. And I think this is really important. This is a really important shift for, compliance staff or student athletes. Previously, student athletes were regulated on what type of aid or how much aid they could receive. Sport programs were limited in how much they could provide. And really now there's no limit. It's now regulated by rosters. And so previously in the space where student athletes maybe couldn't receive an outside scholarship or couldn't accept an institutional scholarship because it would count against athletic limits, now are able to receive that. So I think that opens the door there. I think the other piece is important to note that there's a cap to what institutions can provide, but no floor. And so UIC is not required to provide rev share directly to students, but we have the opportunity to do so. And I think that's where Sean comes in his space, and with the help of support, we are able to provide more opportunity.
And that's a perfect transition to Sean and support. Now that UIC has opted in, one, those on the call might be wondering, how does this impact our collective? And two, can people now give directly back to the school?
100%. So the collective, I'll take a step back and just briefly, the definition of a collective prior to July 1, we needed a third party in order to deliver rev share or NIL to our student athletes. With the House settlement and after July 1, that the barrier was removed. And so now from a university and an athletics department standpoint, we can now share and provide NIL to our student athletes directly. So the collectives, our collective will probably, we won't utilize it as extensively as we have in the past. I think some of the programs that might be more recognizable from maybe a football standpoint and some of the more prominent names that you would recognize from an athletic standpoint, they may utilize collectives still for their student athletes, but our collective will probably have a diminished role. And so the other part with that is prior to July 1, if you went through a collective, your investment was not tax deductible, and now it is. And so that's the biggest change is, for investors and donors, we're still impacting our student athlete experience. We're still impacting our student athletes, our scholarships. So that's probably the biggest. One of the greatest news for me is that tax deductibility, because as a fundraiser, now we can invest more in our student athletes and our sport programs, and with the help of our investors and donors, grow that share. I do want to clarify one thing. Emily did a great job, but one of the things I think there's a misnomer out there. I've heard early, pardon me, from some of our donors. Not every student athlete. They're saying, I can't believe every student athlete is going to have received some NIL or rev share. Not every student athlete will. They have the opportunity to, but I think that there's a lot of folks out there saying, I can't believe, there's 300 student athletes, 305 at UIC, that they're all receive some compensation. The opportunity is there, and we want to keep the doors open for all of our 305 student athletes. But I do want to share that that's not necessarily true. And I think that's at every university. Not every student athlete will be compensated, but their opportunity is there for sure.
Thanks so much, Sean. We're doing great on time, so we're going to actually have a few more bonus questions right now. So, Commissioner, we'll go to you first. And,
okay.
College sports are evolving fast, and not everyone sees this as a good thing. What's your message to those who are skeptical or maybe feel like something's been lost? And how can, as you say, there's an exciting opportunity. How can they start to see this opportunity of where things are heading in this post-House settlement world?
Well, collegiate athletics has always been about the name on the front, not the name on the back, and nothing has changed. The interesting thing for a conference like the Missouri Valley is, I had the opportunity, Phil, about a month ago to be in Omaha, Nebraska, watching Murray State play in the College World Series. I had the opportunity to watch Drake win an NCAA tournament game. I had the opportunity to watch UNI win an NCAA tournament game in volleyball. I don't think a whole lot has changed in terms of the efforts and the excitement and the support and the type of villages that our institutions are building to support their athletic, goals, aims, and student athletes. I don't see a huge change. Now, certainly there's a different relationship because of, as Sean and Emily have been talking about, how we interact with our athletes, whether you're talking about NIL or whether you're talking about rev share. But, I think when you turn on your TV in November and you're watching a basketball game, I think the people in the arena are having the same excitement, feel the same thrills, and the student athletes are having a very similar experience to what they were going through 8 or 10 years ago. So, yeah, it's a little bit different. But in Valley, I don't think a whole lot has changed in terms of our pro-competitive aim, so to speak.
Thank you so much, Commissioner. And Emily, in this new post-house settlement world, something that student athletes are now also going to have to deal with, along with revenue sharing, is taxes. How will taxes work regarding NIL? And as we talk about from an educational standpoint, what financial literacy education will be provided to UIC student athletes so that they stay informed and up to date on all of these nuances?
I don't know about everyone on this call, but I hate taxes. So it is our job to help educate our students and provide them the resources. I think we're very fortunate at UIC to have partners across our campus to help with education. I mean, just this past year, several accounting faculty members created educational resources for our students on just that. And that was a great partnership. I know under the support of Dr. Giles, our faculty athletic rep, there was a special topics course created for NIL. And so that was essential, offered this summer to go over some different topics and educate. Our associate AD for creative services and broadcasting created a monthly workshop, which touched on various topics. But I think, and another piece is we have Commissioner Jackson obviously on this panel, but the MVC has partnered and made it a point to educate also. And our partnership with Credit Union One,
That's right.
offering that financial literacy is really going to be key. So I think there's never enough education. And as we flex and change, we have to be flexible in the models and the modalities we give our students, because something that exists today could be different tomorrow. And so I think having support from our campus, from our conference, will help us provide those resources.
Thank you so much, Emily. And I do think UIC is one of the few places nationally to have a course in NIL and its impact on higher ed, currently speaking. But again, thank you so much to our three panelists for such a great discussion surrounding NIL. We're now going to bring on two different guests, two UIC head coaches for a roundtable discussion on the current state of NIL. Joining us now are women's basketball head coach Ashleen Bracey and men's basketball head coach Rob Eson. Coach Bracey is entering her fourth year leading the Flames and has led UIC to back-to-back postseason appearances, while Coach Eson starting his second year in Chicago and helped lead the Flames to a 17-win season, with 10 of those victories coming in conference play during his first year at the helm. Coaches, thanks so much for joining us tonight.
Phil, good to see you.
Thanks for having us.
So first things first, let's talk some offseason. How's the offseason been going for you two?
Ashleen, I'll let you go first. As the triple back-to-back postseasons, you got it.
Awesome. Thank you, Rob. Offseason has been great. It's been full of recruiting as we graduated 10 seniors this past season who really established a really nice foundation for us, as you spoke of 3 consecutive postseasons. So a lot of recruiting, a lot of establishing relationships with our new players, establishing a set of shared values and how we're going to operate in terms of building a strong winning culture as we move forward. It's been really, the young ladies have been working extremely hard on the court, in the classroom. It's been, a really enjoyable off season, and we're really excited to get into the season.
Yeah, Phil, I would echo what Ashleen said. Our jobs have changed so much, in the last few years for a lot of reasons, and we have 10 new players. So kind of establishing, the culture of what we want, things to look like, how we're going to operate on a day-to-day basis, on the court, off the court, building connection. I think one of the things our team did so well last year was we built great connection with 11 new guys. So now we're trying to do it with 10 new guys. That's been a challenge that I enjoy. I think our staff really enjoys leaning into getting to know each other, on the court, off the court. And then, the summer goes by fast. We're already, I know Ashleen as well, we're almost done with summer workouts. So trying to figure out all the pieces and how they fit together, what we're going to do on offense, what we're going to do on defense, it's been a cool thing. You're kind of starting over every year to some degree, depending on who your personnel is and what you believe in as a coach. And I think it provides a unique excitement every year around this time that really, maybe in the past it wasn't the same.
We'll go in reverse order for this next question, and you both touched on it already, but there's a lot of new student athletes on both your programs. So just tell us about your team, some of these new student athletes that are representing the UIC Flames.
Yeah, well, first we returned 3 players, 2 of them redshirted. Ahmad Henderson was a significant part of our success last year. We signed 3 freshmen. out of high school. So really right there, we have 5 players on our roster who have never played a college basketball game. So kind of unique. I think the other part was we signed a handful of transfers to give us a blend of some older guys, in the transfer portal, some younger guys that were with us last year and some young high school guys. So we feel like we have a pretty balanced and good mix. And our team's really unique, Phil. We just have a lot of unique different pieces. And I think as a coach, maybe one of the most unique years, and we have some guys who are really good defensively and might not be as good offensively, some that are really good offensively and might not be as good defensively. So blending all these new guys is going to be a great challenge that we're looking forward to.
Awesome. I'm super excited about my team. I returned 5, one of which played significant minutes, brought in 3 freshmen, a couple from the Chicago area, which is always exciting, and then 6 transfers. So we are, putting it all together as Rob mentioned. 3 that I'd like to highlight because I think they'll have the ability to make an immediate impact would be Jessica Carruthers, who's a transfer from an NAIA school. She was the leading scorer in the nation at 30 points a game. And to be quite frank, outside of just UIC being, a really attractive place to come to school, NIL played a huge role in us being able to, seal that deal in beating out schools like UNLV, Wisconsin, and Florida. Another one is Jaya McClure, who's transferring to us from Ohio. She was an All-MAC selection 2 years in a row. So immediate experience that will really help us, just get off to a great start. And then Amelia Strong, who is top 25 in the country in offensive rebounds. All 3 of those young ladies that I mentioned. Obviously, UIC is a huge pull in Chicago, amazing campus, and we've established a winning culture here. But what I would say really tipped the jar for us would have been NIL.
And before we touch on NIL coaches, for those on the call, they always want to know, who are we playing this year? Just what is maybe 1 or 2 non-conference games that you want to tell the fans about? Coach Bracey, you can go first.
Yeah, so we're super excited about playing at Indiana on November 7th. So that'll be a great matchup. They played in the NCAA tournament this past season. We actually have an opportunity to host Wisconsin here at UIC on November 19th. That will be an extra cool game because my brother is actually on their staff. And then a really special game, I think, just for the Chicago area, will be hosting DePaul here on December 17th.
Very exciting. We can't wait for all those games. What about you, Coach Isan?
We're trying to get Wisconsin to come play us, but unfortunately, they haven't agreed to come to Credit Union One Arena. That's awesome. We our schedule is going to be, our non-conference schedule is going to be extremely challenging. I think last year we were first or second in the Missouri Valley in strength of schedule non-conference due to a handful of road games. This year we will have I think 5 true road games. We'll play at Oregon State, the second game of the season, which is November 8th. Before Christmas, December 20th, we'll play at Charlotte. The day before Thanksgiving, we will play at Robert Morris, who went to the NCAA tournament. And then November, I think 15th, we'll play actually at Chicago State. Somebody, here in the areas, we've worked incredibly hard to try to get local teams to play us. So we were able to get that done. And then in November 3rd, I believe that Monday, I think, is our opening game against Detroit, a former Horizon Conference, friendly foe. So yeah, we're excited, extremely challenging. We'll go down to Florida and play in an MTE where we'll open up against High Point, who is in the NCAA tournament. So I expect our strength of schedule out of conference to be extremely challenging in a good way for us.
And we can't wait to follow the Flames all season. Head to uicflames.com, for up-to-date schedules and information throughout the year. Let's pivot over to NIL for a little. Coaches, in your careers, it's changed so much. Even during your times at UIC, it's changed. How does NIL impact your day-to-day job, and how does NIL impact roster building these days? Coach Isan, you can take this question first.
Yeah, I just, Phil, gave a big speech today to a bunch of UIC employees, and I said that if somebody asked me today, what are the 2 most important things that you do as a head coach? I would say it's building culture and raising money. and being a fundraiser. And when I got into coaching 15, 20 years ago, you went on a couple, to meet some people to help out with that. But now it's incredibly important. And I think, I'm excited that we've opted in. As Commissioner Jackson said, I think our whole league has embraced NIL. And listen, we were a top 10 men's basketball league in the country last year. To be able to sustain that, NIL is going to be an instrumental part of that, of the future of us and all the other teams in our league to be able to compete against other mid-major teams. So I think it has a huge effect on building a roster. As Commissioner Jackson said, it's now one of the factors, and I would say it's one of the, arguably not the only factor, but it's an incredibly important factor for most student athletes that we're recruiting now. So to be able to be competitive in that space is obviously incredibly important, and we're excited about building that.
Coach Bracy?
Yeah, I'll echo what Rob mentioned. I think building a culture and establishing a set of shared values to give your team an opportunity to be successful. That's our job as coaches. And I think Coach Rob and I have both done that here at UIC. And I think when I think of NIL, I think of opportunity. And I know that word has been mentioned several times on this call. Valley, both ways, men's and women's basketball, very, very good league, playing into NCAA tournaments and winning games. And so I think what it does is, to a place like UIC that's in Chicago, where we're able to get really big time recruits on campus to begin with, it allows us to secure really high level talent if we're willing to invest in the opportunity. And, I know Coach Rob and I are both really passionate about competing for championships. And, if we can get the right support around what we're doing, I think NIL can help us do that.
Coaches, just final thoughts. What should fans know about NIL and how it's affecting your programs moving forward? Coach Bracy, you can take this one first.
Yeah, I mean, it's a part of our day-to-day, obviously. But I think, probably the most amazing part about working here at UIC, and, having leaders like Chancellor Miranda and Andrea Williams and, many people on this call, is that we're embracing it. And we've talked about it as an opportunity. So it's something that, as I mentioned, we are here to compete for championships. We are here to provide great experiences for our student athletes. And I think NIL is a great opportunity to help us get one step closer.
Well said. I think the other thing that I would just add is that, anybody, as people said, can donate, can help the Flames, men's basketball, women's basketball, all our sports. No donation is too small. I mean, we're not just looking for money. We're looking for support. We're looking for, community that helps you win a championship and compete for championships. And I think, as Ashleen said, we have a great support system behind us. I know we're both excited about the upcoming season to build on what happened last year in Credit Union One Arena, and we're fired up about it.
Well, coaches, thank you again so much for your time. We're excited to cheer you both on the hardwood this upcoming year. And we will now introduce our next speaker, who is a UIC alum who truly represents what it means to be a member of Chicago's college team. Curtis Granderson played 16 seasons in Major League Baseball for 7 organizations. A 3-time All-Star, Curtis received the Roberto Clemente Award for his work both on and off the diamond in 2016. He received his degree from the College of Business Administration in 2003. Curtis, thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Yeah, thank you very much for the introduction, and appreciate you having me be a part of this great panel and great conversation. Thanks again to everyone on here. And, my career, my life, and everything is developed and built based on UIC. I mean, I entered as an incoming student athlete in 1999, and here we are in 2025. And if everyone on the call listening has heard from everyone that's spoken before, there's been constant mention of student athlete. Always that student part being first. I know there's obviously a bunch of students that are going to get an opportunity to play in their respective sports, but of course we still have to do the things we need in the classroom, and that's going to shape us up for everything that we do moving forward. Because let's face it, we're going to be non-athletes longer than we are athletes, no matter how long we ever get a chance to play. And I think UIC did such an amazing job for me personally in that area. I was a college business graduate. I got a chance to be a double major, and both my parents taught here in the Chicagoland area. And I remember talking to my mom about, why she thought college was important. And she said, "Look, I sent you to college so you could put yourself in a situation to be able to take care of yourself. And that's what you got an opportunity to do." And being able to not only study business management, study business marketing, but also play baseball at UIC shaped and molded me to be able to do those things. And when I get an opportunity to not only play at the professional level, but once I finish, get a chance to start nonprofits after, understanding entrepreneurial studies and marketing and management, but then getting a chance to be on the camera from the broadcast side. Everyone goes, "Did you take any, talking lessons or speaking lessons?" I said, "Officially, no, but unofficially, yes." As a student athlete, we had a lot of presentations and we had to do group projects, and one of us had to be the leader to speak in front of everybody. And for some reason, everybody pointed to me to step up in front and kind of take the ball and run with it. So, as an 18, 19-year-old student, as we have to present about different projects, I'm getting my first taste at that side of things. So, I think that helped shape and mold me in so many different ways, and just the dynamic of the student body population at the university as a whole. I remember taking one of my first classes, and one of my classmates was an international student from Egypt. And we're getting ready to discuss our first winter break. And he asked me, "What's my plans for the winter?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm going to go home, get a chance to see some friends and family, looking forward to celebrating New Year's. I always did New Year's Eve parties, and we're gonna decide which hotel party we're gonna go to, which club we're gonna go to, et cetera, et cetera." I said, "What are you gonna do?" And he said it so casually to me, and it shaped and molded me moving forward. He goes, "I'm just gonna go out to the pyramids and watch the fireworks." And I said, "Wow." I go, "I want to do that. I want to be able to travel the world to have these experiences that my classmates, my peers are experiencing in different parts of the world." And with UIC historically always being one of the most diverse schools in the country, both from its racial makeup, but from where all these students come from, that helped and shaped and molded me. And if you look back at that time frame, there's a new study that just came out. It talked about the number of Americans that had passports in the early 2000s versus where we are now. I think it was about like 30% of all the American population back then. And now we are at about the 50% range. And for me, I wanted to get out there and see the world. And it was because of the classmates I had at UIC and getting that opportunity to do so. And I think it also helped shape and molded me as a professional athlete once I stepped on the field and I had teammates from South Africa, from Australia, from Japan, Taiwan, Venezuela, Puerto Rico, Dominican, Canada, Mexico. That's what my classes look like. That's what the other athletes, the student athletes look like. And it made things so easy for me to adapt and translate into that situation because of the things I did in my time as a student athlete at UIC. Like, I remember first hearing about In-N-Out Burger from the softball players that had come from California. And they were talking about just how this is one of the best burgers in the world. I said, "Okay, when I get a chance to finally make it over there, I'm going to see for myself." But all those conversations happened from being a student athlete at UIC. And of course, Chicago being home. And I just remember my dorm was on Halsted and Harrison. So I had a view of the city, and I always loved just seeing the Sears Tower, aka the Willis Tower, and having those experiences. Going to my first ever Cubs game happened as a UIC student athlete, getting on the L, taking the red line, going up there and seeing that and embracing into that and going, "Okay, if I don't get a chance to play as a professional athlete, what would I love to do with my career?" And at that time, I remember Nike Town had just opened up on Michigan Avenue. I said, I could see myself being involved in that, utilizing my management and marketing skills to help bring the next shoe, the coolest ad, all those great things. And fast forward, as I get a chance to stay connected with the College of Business, one of the things they always talk about is how many UIC alums work in the city of Chicago. So if you're a student from anywhere in the world, if you're getting a chance, one, to conveniently have a place, a destination to travel to, like UIC in Chicago, that's a plus. If playing student athlete, being a student athlete and playing in front of some of the best talent is there for you, that's also there. And if you're end up graduating and don't get a chance to play professionally, well, the career is right in front of you because in your backyard, one of the best cities in the world with some of the biggest countries in the world are right there for you. So all that shaped and helped mold me. And oh yeah, I also bought my first home, which I still live in to this day, here in University Village. So I'm walking distance from the campus. I loved every moment of it as an incoming student. And I sit here now talking to you as a 44-year-old alum and showing the relationship of what UIC has been to me both then and still is now. So for all the donors and supporters that are on here, truly appreciate everything that you have done and are considering doing. And understand that any contribution that you have in the help or happen to help with, whether it's mentoring, whether it's financial, whether it's guiding, whether it's connections and networking, truly impact in more ways than you could ever imagine. And of course, let's face it, not all of the student athletes are going to become professional athletes, but they can create an amazing career and an amazing path in their life, which goes back to the plan and goal of why my mom wanted me to go to college, to be able to take care of themselves. And that's what UIC did for me. And that's why I still call Chicago home. So I'm truly thankful for everyone that's been a part of my life and the UIC Flames family, both old and new, the people that I've met recently that are on this call, the people that I've stayed connected with as an 18-year-old incoming student here at UIC, and everybody beyond. So hopefully get a chance to meet those that are on this call that I don't get a chance to see. If you ever see me on campus at a basketball game, at a softball game, a baseball game, a soccer game, do not hesitate to come and say hello. I'd love to chat with you and talk to you about it, and truly appreciated my time there. Again, thank you very much for allowing me to be on here. Thank you for all the support. And I'd love to go ahead and pass things back to our AD, who's doing such an amazing job in her second season here at UIC, getting things, just taking the bull by the horns and continuing to roll with it. Andrea, continue to do your thing. So excited about you and the staff and everything that you're doing over here. And again, if anybody needs any info, any insight, do not hesitate to reach out. Anyone on this panel can connect you to me. I'm also on social. Do not hesitate. Thank you very much, everyone.
That was awesome, Curtis. You are a walking billboard for UIC, and thank you so much for sharing your inspiring story and for being a forever champion of UIC athletics. We're so lucky to have you. And thank you to all of our presenters tonight. It was such a wonderful lineup of individuals who could share their insight and perspective on all the things that are happening around collegiate athletics. For those of you at home, thanks so much for attending tonight and joining us this evening. We hope that you found this session helpful and informative. As promised, please check out the chat here in the Zoom where Sean dropped his contact information. There's also the website information that will be provided here shortly to where you can find out more about UIC athletics, how you can be involved, and how you can support the Flames. So for everybody, thanks again for joining us tonight. Have a great evening and go Flames.